So you clicked on this video to know how to get your 20s right and how to get it right fast. To explain things better, I'm going to tell you about what I've been doing. I am 23 years old right now, and I've been doing this for the past 3 years. And I can tell you, in terms of all areas of life, I have seen nothing but growth simply because of being able to do this. To better explain it, let me start off with the story of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, if you don't know who Arnold is, he's basically this legendary bodybuilder and actor and also a really good politician. And right now he's a philanthropist and he's doing a lot of things for like bigger causes and all of that. So basically, to sum him up, I guess, in everything that he has done, he has always smashed it. But I want to talk about one incident in particular when Arnold was switching from becoming a bodybuilder or from being a bodybuilder, like world champion bodybuilder. He's won 7 Mr. Olympias, which is like the biggest trophy. Think about like F1 in racing, but except the same thing in bodybuilding. So he won that like 7 times. And he is like the legend. There are awards named after him. There are trophies named after him. Literally a god. Like he's worshipped in bodybuilding. So he's conquered this industry, he's conquered that entire game. And again, he's still quite young, right? He's in his late 20s. And he decides to pivot and shift completely and chooses to start doing acting. Now, when he decides or when he proclaims that I'm going to go out and become an actor, all the critiques are going crazy. Everybody's like, you must be stupid. Are you like delusional? Why would you do something like that? You are at the peak of your career. You've already found something that, one, you're gifted at, and 2, you have the social proof to back it up. You're winning awards. So why would you do this? And the biggest reason probably why everybody judged him a lot for his decision was his accent. Now, again, acting being a very dialogue-intensive career, your accent has to be relatable to the audience that's watching you. If you want to enter Hollywood, that's probably why you might need to have like an English accent that's probably relatable to an American or a Britisher. So automatically he was cancelled out of this whole, like all of these different things because he was from Austria. They spoke German over there and English wasn't even their native accent. So you can imagine a very thick German accent. I wish I could enact one, but I would just sound like a fool. So I'd rather not try. But a lot of stigma, a lot of negativity about, no, you shouldn't do it. And again, let me remind you, he was in his late 20s. He wasn't like 35, 40, where he was probably done with his bodybuilding career and then he moved on to this. He was still very young. So the message I'm trying to get across is, if you know anything about Arnold, he went ahead and smashed the Hollywood like industry. He's probably one of the greatest actors even till today. What I'm trying to tell you is, do not be defined by any of your external or internal circumstances. What do I mean by external and internal circumstances? So first off, external is basically when the world tells you what you should be or what you're good at or what you can do, and you make that true to yourself. Like if somebody has told you that you are really good at maths your entire life, you probably are going to be really good at maths for a really long time. And vice versa if they tell you something negative. So, and then there's also internal belief, which is somewhat external itself, but probably when we are kids, we were told some of these things, or if we are self-conscious to such a level where we listen to what our mind is thinking, then we develop certain ideas about ourselves that we make true to ourselves. These can grow up to sometimes restrict us from growth. If you're not new to this channel, you probably know that I've spoken about this in the past, and I will continue to speak about this in future videos, simply because I just noticed so many people restricting themselves or just sticking to this one ideology of themselves for the entirety of their life. And it's so painful to watch and it's so saddening even. Sometimes I just wish I can shake them up and just remind them that, look, you are more than this. Like, don't confine yourselves. But the bigger problem, if you really think about it, is from this book that I've been reading. The book is called Sapiens. I've mentioned it multiple times before. It's by Yuval Noah Harari, and it basically speaks about everything about humans, like since evolution, how mankind was formed, how did we grow up to think the way we think in terms of business, politics, life, sex, all of it. Now, one very beautiful thing that he mentions, well, it's not so beautiful, it's kind of sad, but something that makes a lot of sense when you think about it, is how like Asians are restrictive and very like closed and not as risk taking or not as explorative as the West, and why that is. So basically, around the 1800s, when exploration across the seas and different continents started happening, a lot of the Westerners started exploring into different continents, conquering them, learning from them, and doing all of these things outside of their their zone or their country or their region. Now, there were three reasons in particular why they probably did this, right? One is they were curious. They wanted to know what is out there. They wanted to explore. Two is they wanted to like take risks, and they didn't really care about there were so many things that could go wrong, right? You could die in the ocean, you could land up in a different country, I mean in a different region, and get some sort of plague, and you can wipe out your entire team or your entire crew. You can you can get stuck up in a storm. I can go on and on, but a lot of ways to die basically. But even then, they would take the risk and go out there and explore. And third is, I think they just didn't confine themselves. Like they knew there was more to the world out there. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't know what is true to them, and they were just curious about what could be there out there. While the West was doing all of this in Asia, not just India, this is China included, and like India also, we stuck to our area and we stuck to doing things that the way that we always did. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be anti-Indian over here. But the point is basically, we didn't choose to go out and explore. We just stayed in our comfort zone. Now, this could also probably do because of all the wealth we had. Asia and India were very wealthy regions. Like we were entirely looted. But before that, we were much, much wealthier than the Europe and the rest of the other regions. So that could be one of the reasons why we probably didn't have to explore. But we did have all the means too. Again, with wealth, we did have the means. We didn't know what it takes to like build a really good ship or travel and explore. But we just chose to stay in our region and do our thing. Now, the point I'm trying to make is a lot of times, even now, if you look at like the way we Asians function, the way we think about things, we're very restrictive. Like we think about like the next best thing that is the safest thing. We don't think about how we can help like 100 people by stepping completely out of the box and innovate and do something insane. And the reason I'm mentioning this again and again is because I want to break this trend. Like I want it to end with our predecessors' generation. We need to be the generation that goes out there and actually does shit. Irrespective of whether we fail or not, we set the pathway for the generations to come. Again, if you think about it from your perspective, like if I think about me doing a business and me failing, that's again me thinking about just me. That's me confining myself. If I think about me doing a business and failing and then telling this to like 100 other people and them being like willing to take risks and do things, that's the end of that's the bigger picture thinking. So there have been several times, right, over the past where I've had to improvise my schedule or not be confined to a certain space or certain rules or something and just move like water. One of them, for example, is sleep. I mentioned this in one of my past videos, but sleep has been absolutely crucial for me. I have been an athlete, so for me, clocking in 8 hours of sleep used to be a huge thing. And up until recently, balancing business, content, college, and work at some point, it got a lot. Like it became a lot. It was hectic. I needed those extra 2 hours to be able to get more done. It was as simple as that. And did I believe that sleep was the most important thing in the world? Yes, I did. Do I still believe that it is the most important thing in the world? Yes, I do. But does that mean that I'm going to like do 8 hours of sleep in this current phase of my life? I can't afford to. So I move like water, I adapt to the situation. In fact, right now, so I had a really precise situation for the past like year or so where I sleep at a certain time, wake up at a certain time. But what has been happening off late is I'm working with my business partner and my really good friend, Bharat, and he is a night owl, right? He likes to stay up at night and he basically works through the night. While as I am like somebody that likes to get up early in the morning and get to work, right, like bright and fresh and all. So something that I'm having to do is adapt to his schedule because he's also working like a 9 to 5 job. So he usually comes back late at night, and that's the only time that we can like sit and discuss and plan and stuff. So I'm having to move my schedule around when, okay, you get up a little bit later or you sleep a little bit later. Like I've been experimenting with a 5 hour sleep schedule. Also because I'm really excited most of the times to get up the next day and start working on the business and stuff. I've spoken about it in my newsletter. Also, my newsletter's back up. If you guys are here for a while, then you know my newsletter. But if you're new to this channel, go ahead and check out my newsletter. I talk about business and growth and development and all of these beautiful things, but it's just a little bit more in detail, like it's particular stories that could be very interesting. So go ahead and check it out. I'll have it linked down in the description below, or you can find it in my bio. But yeah, just adapting and being able to move like water, very crucial, even in the sense of business, right? In business, we use this term that is very common. It's nothing new, but it's called pivot, right? And in a business, when you have an idea, you have a lot of assumptions of what your customer wants. You think that you have a problem, and that's why your customer or so many customers in the world also have this problem. A lot of times that's not true. Sometimes you can get lucky and just crack that problem at the first try. But otherwise, for a lot of normal founders and a lot of really successful businessmen, what they have to do is they identify one assumption. They deal with their customer, like they speak to their customer, they communicate, they think whether that problem is actually a problem for their customer and is actually a problem that's worth solving, that can make them money and they can do it at scale. If it is, then they follow through. If it isn't, they pivot, which means they try to find the next best problem that is closely related to their business. So a lot of companies, they don't start out to be what they actually become. Like, for example, like Twitch the other day I was watching started out as a like reality show sort of thing. And you can think of any big company to a huge extent, like they did not start out to be what they actually ended up becoming, because there's so many pivots. Because companies that reach that sort of scale, they're building for their customers. That means they're taking a lot of feedback. And if it's not an actual problem or it's not big enough problem for their customers, then they pivot. So even in terms of business, right, which is what this channel is all about, it's so important to flow like water. And in our 20s, if we can make this true to ourselves, and guys, I really think the world is the limit. Like there is not, and in fact, not even the world. Like you can go out of this world also. You can go into space and all of that clearly now. So don't set yourself to limits and do it now. Because I have seen like like my parents and like older guys and stuff, they just become so rigid and so boxed, like in a cage, like the way that they think. And this is not me trying to be arrogant or me act like I'm better than anybody or anything. It's just the way that they think. Like they think very small terms or they think very small scale. So the best way to think like bigger is don't be rigid. Like don't define yourself. If you think that I am an angry person, you probably are not. There's just something that's been like put into you and you made it true to yourself. I hope you guys got like some value out of this. This video is absolutely crucial. I'm probably going to create many similar videos out there because I just want to get this across because I feel how important it is. And until I actually see there is difference happening, right? There are people that are not rigid in our generation and that are flowing like water. It's very beautiful to watch, but it just has to happen at a different scale. Again, that has to do with thinking of the bigger picture. But I just hope you got some sort of idea of what I'm trying to convey over here. If you guys did enjoy this video, then go ahead and hit that like button and share it to somebody you think is very rigid. I know you all have that one friend who is very fixated on whatever they do. Go ahead and share it to them. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about sales and one like particular skill that I've learned from selling. Recently, I went door-to-door selling, which was quite embarrassing and humiliating because I got a lot of rejection, but I learned something very crucial that I'm going to be sharing with you. If you do want to stick around for that, then go ahead and subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of this video. I am sorry for the setup being like different and stuff. I know it doesn't really matter as long as I'm giving value to you, but the setup is different because we're shifting, and hopefully by the next video or maybe 2 or 3 videos later, I have like a better space setup. So that's the end, guys. And until next time, bye. I usually push the mic and get up like one hero, but